Hello and welcome to OPM Connect. I'm Naomi Francis. Today we take a look at the government's Bernard Lodge Master Plan program, and it's really a strategic and integrated approach to modern development that takes into account the environment, agriculture, the built environment as well, which includes housing, small industries, and others. Well, today we're pleased to be joined by the Managing Director of the Sugar Company of Jamaica Holdings Limited, Mr. Joseph Shakir, along with Mr. Peter Clark, the Managing Director of the Water Resources Authority, the WRA, and Mr. Lenworth Fulton, the President of the Jamaica Agricultural Society. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us on OPM Connect today. Well, let's start off with Mr. Shakir, because the Bernard Lodge Master Plan has really been a document that has been put together not just yesterday, but over a period of years of consultations and certainly talking with all stakeholders to ensure that we have a very integrated approach to what we're about to do. Tell us a little bit about it.
Absolutely. So, Bernard Lodge, the Bernard Lodge estate,
yes,
and it's important that we understand that the Bernard Lodge estate consists of about 21,000 acres.
Mm-hmm. Situated for or
it's
viewers?
Situated to the west of the Kingston metropolitan area.
Mm-hmm.
The project area being only 5,400 acres of that 21,000 acres in Bernard Lodge,
yes,
sits between Spanish Town to the north and Portmore to the south. So is a natural area for the expansion of that metropolitan conglomerate of Kingston, Spanish Town, Portmore.
Right.
So it's a natural growth area. What the government is seeking to achieve in this project area is an integrated development. An integrated development consisting primarily of agricultural enterprises, but also of housing communities of different types and their commercial space, as well as some urban space. The overall object is for us not to create another dormitory community like Portmore, but to create a community where a person can work and live nearby.
All right, so let me get down to a little bit of nitty-gritty as well. Mr. Fulton is here from the Jamaica Agricultural Society. Certainly in the lead up to the finalization of the master plan, there were persons who had some concerns in terms of what would happen with farmers out there. Are you comfortable, given the plan that has been announced by government, where everything is at?
I'm not comfortable with the revised plan.
You are?
Yes, there should be no plan that would exclude the farmers. And I'm quite comfortable that I've seen a plan that includes all of them. My job in all of this is to see that the farmers continue to produce. And it was too long to have farmers, nearly 300 of them, not knowing tomorrow if they will be on the land, not knowing if they could consider permanent crops like coconut or jackfruit or soursop or anything, because they don't know the tenure. So once that lease is agreed, then they can now plan around that and know that they can have a family in and around the Old Harbor, St. Catherine, Spanish Town, where they have easy access to the land.
Before I get to Mr. Clark, Mr. Shakir, a key component of that, as Mr. Fulton was alluding to, was the expansion of the agricultural areas in the Bernard Lodge area. Give us a little bit more
in
on
response to public criticism of the limited space available for agriculture, the Prime Minister ordered a review of the master plan. And out of that review came the addition of 1,330 acres of prime agricultural land into the master plan area. So now agriculture comprises 56%.
56%, the majority, really.
By far the largest chunk and a majority of the area of the
Yes.
master plan.
Let's get Peter Clark into it from the Water Resources Authority. You're now here the second time on OPM Connect. Welcome again, Peter, because you
Thank
really
you.
are, shall I dare say, the authority really when it comes to looking at the environmental concerns, particularly with water. The WRA has certainly been looking at the Bernard Lodge area, and in
Yes.
particular some concerns that have had to do with the aquifer and ensuring that the water table is not disturbed. Tell us about what the findings are.
Well, the Water Resources Authority, when we were consulted with regards to the development for the Bernard Lodge development area, had two primary concerns. One clearly would have been where would water come from to provide potable and commercial needs.
Yes.
And the second one would have been the aquifer. We were quite positive that the aquifer itself could not sustain the enterprises that would have been introduced. So the enterprise team has been advised, and they have looked outside of the area for the water to provide the water needs. So the water needs are being provided from outside of the area. So in no way would the existing aquifer be stressed with regards to trying to provide the water needs. The second concern would have been the condition of the aquifer itself,
Right.
and maintaining it as a viable aquifer. So what has to be introduced is measures to recharge the aquifer. So in speaking with the architects and the planner, well, not the architect, but speaking with the planner, and in speaking with the enterprise team and the engineers, the civil engineers, as Mr. Shakir has hinted to, we directed that what should happen is that measures must be put in place to recharge the aquifer. So a part of the overall structure of what will happen in terms of development will be what we call recharge zones. These will be driven by detention ponds and retention ponds. Large ponds, we see them in parts of South Florida, and they call them lakes. So the idea is that in engineering structures within the development, we can actually put something in place that will actually help to protect the aquifer.
I see frantic signs that we are out of time. I cannot believe it. Let me start with you then, Mr. Fulton. At the end of the process, you said you are fully on board. Your ideas and the plan certainly of farmers has been taken on board. And so what is your final vision at the end of the day?
To see more innovative farmers who will quadruple their production by using technology, get their family a higher standard of living, educate their children, that you will not identify a farmer as how he looks. You will not know us different from engineers and doctors and teachers, because our standard of living will be higher at the end of the day from better production. That's what I'm looking for.
Indeed. And Mr. Clark?
Well, the incorporation of structures, engineered structures, hydrologic structures, into a development of this magnitude is quite welcome, because it will set a pattern for how I would like to see developments proceed into the future. We have to always consider that we can't only take, but we have to also put back. And I think in the main, that has been neglected to some extent. And the fact that we can now accept that there's a shortfall, and that we must also not only take water but put back water, I think it's very welcome for me.
Fantastic, and certainly the master plan incorporates all of those. A good blueprint to move forward to in the future. And now, finally, Joe.
All right, finally. I don't want anybody to think that this Bernard Lodge project will be finished in 2 years. The first element of the project is to implement the infrastructure, what I call the shared infrastructure.
Yes.
That all of the developments within the master plan area will be serviced by.
What are your timelines?
I would say 18 months, full infrastructure in place. Some developers will start building houses before then, because some border on the I-95 and they have access to some infrastructure. So they will start later this year. But the build out of this entire project, 14,000 houses.
Yes.
Don't forget, and 300 farms will take, I am guessing, 3 to 5 years.
All right, a good 5-year plan.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Joseph Shakir, Managing Director of SCJ Holdings, for joining us today, along with Mr. Peter Clark, Managing Director of the WRA, and Mr. Lenworth Fulton, the President of the Jamaica Agricultural Society. Very important discussion that we should have, certainly as we look toward structured and modern development in Jamaica. Thank you so much, viewers, for joining us today. Join us again next time for another interesting discussion on OPM Connect.